Iraqi man named Binyamin Chassin has just had his death sentence officially annulled. An Iraqi Kurdish judge has rescinded the ruling after a sulcha, that's a traditional reconciliation agreement, was finalized earlier today in Kurdistan. And this outcome only happened because thousands of people worldwide rallied for years, raising the $250,000 that was needed for this settlement and pushing nonstop for Chassin's release. His family and supporters are certainly celebrating after many, many long years of seeing him in prison. And we're joined again by our senior Middle East correspondent, Ariel Isran, to kind of break this story down. Tell us a little bit more about Binyamin Chassin and why he was in prison in the first place.
Yeah, this is a wild story, execution that was averted pretty much in the last minute. We're talking about Binyamin Chassin. He's born in Iraqi Kurdistan, then left to Israel, to Canada, back to Israel. He went back to Kurdistan in 2014 to visit his grandparents, 21 years old. And at the time, this is when ISIS was really sweeping through the country, and a taxi driver overheard him speaking in Hebrew because he has, not only is he Jewish, but he lived in Israel for a time. And then that same taxi driver threatened to hand him over to ISIS. Brawl ensued. Chassin drew out his firearm, shot the taxi driver in the leg, and he then died of his wounds. He was then arrested, tortured, and in 2020, he was sentenced to death by hanging by a Kurdish judge. And ever since then, even before, you've had various Jewish organizations trying to appeal not only Kurdish authorities, but also to garner support or even the funds. And they managed to raise $250,000 to use in a reconciliation process, a sulcha, which is basically you appeal to the family of the victim, you compensate them, and if they accept the reconciliation, they remove the demand for execution. And that is what was secured just earlier today. You've had rabbis from all over the world, from Europe, from other regions, traveling to Kurdistan to oversee this process, which was completed today.
Wow.
The execution, the death sentence has been averted to a minimal term, so he remains in prison in Iraq. But this is a fascinating story of how...
Will he be released from prison, or he's just going to remain
a minimal
in prison?
term. It's not going to be a life sentence.
Okay.
And it's not a death sentence for sure. And so they did manage to reduce the sentence after the family of the victim agreed to a reconciliation process, but really showing how Jewish efforts all over the world can really resolve such avoid such a massive tragedy, obviously, to him and to his family, and shows the deep ties and connections in the Jewish world. Fascinating story.
It's also just fascinating because it's, there are very, very few Jews still in Iraq today, right? So do you know the number at this point of how many Jews are left in Iraq?
Dozens. To hundreds.
Okay.